After leaving Glade Park, Colorado, we headed down what is referred to as the loneliest road in America. Well guys, it's my birthday and I'm 28 today. And for my birthday, we are driving down the loneliest road in America. It's a 2-lane road that goes from the far west side of Utah all the way across Nevada, and I'm not really sure why it's called the loneliest road in America, but we are about to find out. In July of 1986, Life magazine dubbed Nevada's Highway 50 the loneliest road in America. The article claimed there were no points of interest along the route and warned readers not to risk traveling it unless they were confident of their survival skills. The nickname soon took roots and began attracting adventurers from all around the world, some claiming you could drive without encountering another vehicle for hours. We decided to set our timer and record our own personal best for the longest time without coming upon another vehicle, and it was 9 minutes and 12 seconds. While it is vast and left mostly untouched by man, you will find a sprinkling of ghost towns, historic mining communities, sagebrush saloons, and what we feel is a whole lot of beauty. After driving many miles, we would see mirages of snow in the distance and try to guess what was really causing this optical illusion, as it was a balmy 80 degrees out. We guessed perhaps lakes reflecting sunlight or patches of white sand. After driving for what seemed like forever through the desertous terrain, we came upon the small mining towns of Ely and then Eureka, both of which were packed with small-town casinos and not much else open due to the pandemic. In one of these towns, you can pick up your official survival guide to the loneliest road in America. Then you can collect stamps along your route, and when you've collected 5 or more stamps, you mail in the back page as instructed to receive a certificate and a commemorative pin. The first stamp location is Baker and Great Basin National Park, and it ends in Carson City, Nevada. I would highly recommend picking up this book early along the route so you know which stops to make to collect your stamps. The local Chamber of Commerce, as well as other businesses in town, should have them. You may need to ask around. I booked us a room in the small mountainside town of Austin. When we pulled in, the whole town seemed to be under construction, and our hotel seemed questionable at first. Josh actually thought I was joking when I told him to turn in here. There were free-range chickens roaming the property, as well as a big fat cat who marked his territory on our car totes as soon as we arrived. But to our surprise, the room turned out to be quite spacious and very clean. After settling into our room, we set out on foot to discover what Austin had to offer. This living ghost town with many abandoned buildings showed signs of what used to be a bustling mining town. Stokes Castle, a local tourist attraction, is a strange 3-story stone tower. It was built in 1897 by Anson Phelps Stokes, a wealthy Eastern capitalist who had a financial interest in several of the local mines. He built the castle for his son with the idea to make it the family summer retreat. The family did not live in the castle but more than a month when Stokes sold his mine and all of his equipment, and the family moved away, never to return to the castle again. Vacant and abandoned, it fell into disrepair. It has since been purchased and partially restored, but it was said that when it was first built, it was richly decorated like any royal castle, with fireplaces on each floor and a rooftop terrace. Back at our hotel, these two greeted us as we went out in search of dinner and some nightlife. The lovely girl managing our motel recommended the only place in town that was open, called the Owl Club, where we had pizza and drinks, root beer for the girls, and played songs on the jukebox.
It's your birthday! Hanging out with your girls?
It was definitely a fun and memorable evening as we met all walks of life here, including a man who came in on a bicycle loaded up with gear on his way to Denver, Ernie, one of the construction crew working on restoring the main roadway through town, who was covered from head to toe in tattoos, and a local woman who was playing slots at the bar all night, who gave me a necklace that she handmade as a gift for my birthday. We then headed back to the hotel for some chocolate cake. Not too bad of a day to turn 38. The next day, a herd of deer greeted us across the street as we bid the town of Austin farewell. Back on the road, we headed towards the next stop on the route, the town of Middlegate. Once again, we saw the white snow mirage in the distance. This time, we were able to get close enough to find out what it was. What we were actually seeing were alkali flats, or dry lake beds. The girls really enjoyed getting out and exploring this strange-looking phenomenon. Just a little bit further and we arrived at the town of Middlegate. Officially in the middle of nowhere with a population of 18. Nope, 17. Like an oasis in the desert, Middlegate had a saloon, a guest house, a motel with an outhouse, and everything here seemed to be frozen in time, like a real-life old Western movie. Perhaps time has stood still out here in the middle of nowhere. Next up, we went in search of Shoe Tree. We had a little trouble finding it at first, as it's not clearly marked, nor is it visible from the road, but with a little help from a local, we found the infamous tree. So this is Shoe Tree. It's a stop on the loneliest road in America, and apparently people throw their old shoes in this tree. You see them all? And the ground beneath the tree is littered with all the fallen shoes of the past. As we near the end of our drive down the loneliest road in America, we make one final stop at a gas station and discover slot machines right inside for your convenience. Up ahead, we see South Lake Tahoe in the distance. We have officially survived the loneliest road in America. We get checked into our lakeside hotel and are all very happy to get a good night's rest and a recharge. Well, we finally arrived in California after driving through Nevada all day. And yes, it is pronounced Nevada, not Nevada. I was corrected by the locals. So, but we're here, we're in South Lake Tahoe, and I'm super excited to check out the town a little more tomorrow when it is light out again. So yay! The next morning on our walk down to the beach, the girls discovered these giant pine cones. It is October 1st, and I am in California, paddleboarding on Lake Tahoe. This is my life, people. This is my life. Look how clear that water is. The sand here is really coarse. It's different than sand on any beach I've ever been to before. Here we are catching a sunset out over the lake. And later that same night, a moonrise. One of the hardest parts about planning this trip has been that we've never really been to any of these places before, so we don't know what to expect until we get there. And we only booked 3 nights in Lake Tahoe, and we absolutely fell in love with this area, and I'm super bummed that we're leaving today. I wish that we had more time to do some more exploring. So unfortunately we have to head on down the road, and hopefully we can just come back sometime, but it is what it is. So for the next leg of our trip, we drove from Lake Tahoe to the Fresno area, and I wish in hindsight that I had taken some pictures or some video to show you kind of what that drive was like. At the time I was thinking, wow, this is just a lot of farmland, but looking back on it now, I realized that it was actually kind of interesting. We saw farmland, we saw mountains, we saw desert-like areas, we saw cacti, we saw palm trees. We saw just a little bit of everything, kind of like if you take all the states we've been in and combine them into one. That was California. And then of course, later on in our trip, we head towards San Francisco, and there's the ocean, sandy beaches, there's some rocky beaches, you have mountains that kind of careen right down to the shore. So California really surprised me. I've never been to California before, so I was surprised to see that it had just a little bit of everything. So we've been asked why we stayed in Fresno, and we picked that location because of its proximity to Yosemite and Sequoia National Parks. So we actually rented a camper in Clovis, and while this was one of our only negative Airbnb experiences, we didn't end up staying the entire 30 days. We left early, but we definitely learned some things from this experience. So I do plan on doing a little tell-all and give some advice and input on things that we learned from that experience. So next up, here we are arriving at our Airbnb in Clovis, California.
Pulled into our new home for the next month. That's Jenny. Nice little patio area. Looks pretty good. Bunk beds. Bathroom.
And over here, we have a pool area, and here is the pool. Super cute. Join us next week when we head to Yosemite and Sequoia National Parks.